Happy Tu Bishvat, everyone. It's Melissa here from Little Kosher Lunch, and it's January, and we're out in the backyard by our camellias, which are our plants that we love to revisit every year, especially at this time of year when they're starting to bloom. If you look back in my Tu Bishvat videos, you'll see them several years ago when they were just babies that we planted. Today, in January of 2021, or Shvat, I wanted to talk to you about Tu Bishvat and how we are going to be celebrating this year and how it's kind of a different year for us, and maybe a year that's even more geared towards celebrating Tu Bishvat, in a year where we can't be together, but we can be outdoors. So I just wanted to catch up with you briefly, kind of share what my family is doing, and maybe leave you with one takeaway that I recommend for those of you who are watching this year. I have gone back to work recently. We're here in Los Angeles in a surge. The coronavirus, we've been really locked down in our house, gardening more than ever this year. It just kind of feels like it's been Tu Bishvat all year long. The thing that I think is really special about Tu Bishvat is the fact that Tu Bishvat is a holiday about planting and gardening, and it's the birthday of the trees. And it takes place in the winter where things are mostly bare, trees are mostly not producing, and it's a holiday that's really a hopeful holiday about what is to come. So the first thing I did when I walked into my classroom in January is I started getting ready for Tu Bishvat. We made a big tree on the wall that's going to have branches that the children fill with their art and photos of the children and their families. We spread our chia pets with seeds so that the children could immediately see growth happening and the miracle that things growing from a seed transform before our very eyes. We've started exploring seeds, and I've talked about this on my channel and in my past year's videos about just looking in your pantry or looking in your food that you're eating and looking to see, where is there a seed? Or what is it that we eat that comes from a tree? And we're starting that exploration with our children in our class. We're just looking in their lunch boxes to see, is there a seed in that grape? Or is there a bean in there? And we're going to be talking a lot about fruits. The other thing that is very timely about Tu Bishvat is that after a long winter of indulging and eating and cocooning and packing on a little bit of weight, Tu Bishvat encourages us to eat things that we get from trees. So fruits and nuts and lots of really healthy foods are things that we're going to be indulging in this January. Woo! They're so heavy. Yesterday, my parents dropped off these gorgeous grapefruits from their tree, and this morning, our wonderful neighbors up the street dropped off these beautiful oranges. So here is one really special example that we have here in California of backyard fruit and people sharing their fruits, which is something that could be done even in a pandemic, dropping something off on someone's porch. So this is just one thing that my family's enjoying that feels very Tu Bishvat. We're also growing things in our garden. My chickens are really excited that I have picked some Swiss chard. They're like hovering to see when it's their time to eat it. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Just continuing the gardening that we're doing as a family is something that celebrates Tu Bishvat. These camellias here, which are such a gift from nature and will grow into trees at some point. They're going to get to be about 8 feet tall. These Nuccio's cameo camellias, we have high fragrance camellias that bloom later. And in the front, we have these little tiny buttermint camellias. I'll insert some footage of those. They're little bitty butter colored ones. I am picking these every day because I have this gift, and I bring in a basket of them every day for my students who are 2-year-olds and they're learning about flowers and nature, and they really want that sensory activity. And this is something that I don't need to disinfect. I just compost it when they're done with them. I talk about it all the time because PJ Library is very supportive of me in my efforts, and they do sponsor some of my content here on YouTube. I wanted to show you some other ideas, but the first one is PJ Library. If you're unfamiliar, PJ Library mails age-appropriate books to families with Jewish children every month. Here are my children's books, which I'm saving for them for Tu Bishvat. But then here is a little packet that they sent to me. Thank you. And this is an activity that's being mailed to families who have signed up. It's free. And this is a special Tu Bishvat planting activity and a story about the carob tree. This is arugula microgreens with a little kind of cushy, spongy mattress to sprout them on. This is a beautiful activity that you can do whether you live in a home with a yard or not, that you can grow on your windowsill. The story that accompanies this planting activity is the carob tree, which is an old Jewish folktale, and it's a folktale about an old person planting a tree. The message of this story really resonated for me as I was going back to work, and it's about the story of this carob tree really gets me because it's a story about someone planting the seeds or planting the tree, the fruits of which they may never see. I don't think I can talk about it. Well, now that I've tried to repeatedly talk about the carob tree, and I can't do it without crying, I hope that you get this in the mail, and if you don't, I hope that you'll visit the PJ Library website, which I'll link for you below, and I'm sure that you can find this story there digitally. This is just a really difficult year for so many people, and there are so many people who are acting extremely selflessly, which I think makes me very hopeful. And it's also just very hard for me, emotional for me. Anyway, I loved this PJ Library. I think it's beautiful, and my children love receiving these materials. I'm going to move on and collect myself for you, but thank you. I'm going to move on and share with you a few other goodies that are very Melissa. One of them is that we are picking things in our garden. These are just miraculous things like spicy and sweet peppers, chard, and lettuce that are growing in our yard. My kids love gathering these things, and if you don't have a garden going right now, now is a great time. I'm a mess. Now is a great time to be planting. Some of the things that we're planting now that I'm planting this week, early in January with my students, are these beautiful peas. These are sugar magnolia peas. They're purple, and they have purple flowers. They're just beautiful. We're soaking and planting these now, and I've also planted the Wando shell pea variety. I'll show you some of those that we have that I've gotten a jump on that are in the front yard, and they're tall and gorgeous and blossoming right now. These are a great garden activity for children that they can just go out and pick and eat, that I think have been so rewarding. If you don't have the space or room to be gardening, but you have a heavy book or a flower press, we have also been picking leaves, visiting the park, and visiting our favorite trees, climbing trees, and pressing leaves. And I've even been studying trees with my Girl Scout troop, even though we're not together, and we've been talking about fun facts that you might want to discuss with your kids and family, like what is our state tree. And here in California, our state tree is the California redwood, but we've also been pressing oak leaves, and those things are here drying and getting flattened in our flower press that we might turn into cards later. We're sending a lot of cards in the pandemic. One of the last tidbits that I'll leave you with is just to take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself can take so many forms, whether it's a walk, climbing a tree, visiting a plant that you planted, sending a card with a flower on it, or maybe cooking and eating something nutritious and delicious that came from a tree. Self-care for me is prepping some food in advance so that I can just dish it up a few meals at a time and not have to be cooking constantly. These are apples that we did not grow, but these are from Cayuma Orchards. I just wanted to give them a shout out because I think that their apples are so special. I painstakingly cut these tiny apples in half. I core them and I bake them with some butter and sugar and cinnamon for my kids, and they just love them. So baked apples are on the menu this Tu Bishvat for my family. An orange might be on the menu for yours. A handful of nuts that are really healthy for you could be something else on the menu. I would like to set the bar really low this year because of what everyone is dealing with, myself included, but I hope that this sort of low-key look at what is possible, this fresh air look, this open air, gardeny look at what is to come, I hope that you can take something away from this, whether you're Jewish or not, or whether you have a family or not. I think that just for an individual, this holiday can really do so much for you. gardening and being in nature can do so much for you. So I really hope that that's what you take away. As always, I appreciate you and I thank you for visiting my channel. I have lots of old Tu Bishvat videos that I will link up for you down below that I hope you will enjoy as well if you're new here. And thank you for your time. Take care.